everyone, and welcome back to another episode. And welcome back to the HUFVUD HATMAKER studio. I've had an amazing week, as always. Many things happening, many new hats I've started to work on, and some hats are even completed and being shipped off at the beginning of next week. It's currently a very typical spring weather here in south of Sweden. It's rainy, it's windy, there's sunshine, sometimes there's snowing, and sometimes it's just raining a lot. So it's quite nice. Flowers are starting to pop out from the ground, and that's nice, and a lot of birds everywhere, and dogs are barking everywhere as well. So it's kind of like normal, but yeah. With that being said, I actually looked for my spring hat, which I'm currently wearing. It's been kept in storage since I moved to my new place, and this is a silver belly Lever Lucky Fedora, 100x Beaver, and it is my spring summer hat since of last year. I actually modified this hat a little bit. I made it a little bit different from the standard version. It's a little bit hard to explain what I did to it, but it's kind of the way that I want it to be. Suits me just perfectly. It's just a crown shape is a little bit different than I use for a standard one. And I love bright color felt hats. It's nice to wear and they look amazing. So I'm going to have more shades of these bright colors actually, because it's nice to have in spring, summer, and actually it looks nice in winter as well. Who am I kidding? And I happen to be working on another silver belly felt hat for a customer who actually needs something for his spring summer season. This week I wanted to talk about my beginning as a hat maker, where how did I start, what did I acquire, and how did I build up everything to have this kind of a studio. And maybe it's for someone who's perhaps yourself want to start making hats and you want to know how to get started and what to focus on, because every time you get into something new, it's difficult to know what is the right way and how to proceed and how you should focus on your investments and etc. And it's easy to spend money on the wrong thing at the beginning and then realize that, oh, I should have bought that instead. So let me give you some tips actually, and you'll make up your own mind if you like this way. I'm about to show you a piece of history here of HUFVUD, and this is actually my first ever fedora that I made. I made this with some very simple tools, and I think this is from a rabbit fur felt in black color. And I sourced all the materials, the ribbons, etc. And I even placed a sweatband and a liner in this one. And it's very simply made. I'm really surprised how well it turned out. And looking back at it now, I see a lot of things that can be improved. But yeah, my first hat. It's really cool to still have this one. So the first thing I ever got was a wooden block, a shape to push down the felt into, just to make the open crown. This is just a simple shape, and I've had this since the beginning. And with this you also need a block stand. And pusher down to push down the rope that you tie around the block of the felt, and a puller down, which is to help to pull down the felt. But I don't actually like this one. It's not actually needed. It's kind of overrated. You can do everything by hand anyway. And with a little bit of steam from a boiling kettle or just the steam from the iron that you're using, you can shape the hat onto this block. And that's how you start. Simple. But it takes a lot of practice and time to figure out how to shape the felt correctly and how to work with the materials, etc. And I began just in a small apartment. At the time, I was living in Hong Kong, working for a big firm, and I started to shape out my first hat during my spare times, which was not much really. I was working 6 days a week, and I was always working from early in the morning to late in the evening, so I seldom had any time to do something like this. But I did it anyway because I began to have a passion for hats and a great interest in how they were made. And I was really wondering why there weren't many old style hats left in the world. I mean, I couldn't find any hat shop that made the hats that I wanted to see. Um, but there were some out there, I just hadn't found them yet. But then again, they were not really making the hats the way I wanted to. So, a long story short, I quit my job in Hong Kong and I took my hat equipment, shipped them home to Sweden, and in 2017 I started to make hats in my parents' summer house garage. This is some never seen footage of me when I began making hats, and this is actually from 2017. So I came back in May of 2017 to Sweden, and directly I went to my parents' summer house. Um, I took a corner of the garage and made two working tables and purchased some more equipment, just to really get started and to have proper steam and a little bit more tools to work with. And I was here for about the entire summer actually, so that was 2 3 months before I got kicked out because I was bringing in too many large trucks of deliveries, which my parents didn't like too much, and not the neighbors either. So I decided to move back to Lund, my hometown, and work from my parents' home in Lund. This period of time was all about learning, trying out some techniques of shaping felt and acquiring felt from different suppliers. And I think my first felts actually came from United States before I found a official supplier in Europe. And that's how I learned. It was all through trial and error and finding out which way worked better and looking at YouTube videos, reading books, looking at old hats, trying to learn from someone, etc. And in time, things just became better and better. But I hadn't sold a single hat yet, so I was not really in business. Um, it still felt like this was a hobby, and even though I was actually determined to make a business out of it because I had a passion for it and I couldn't really explain it. So autumn came and I moved to Lund in my parents' garage, but I couldn't stay there for too long because it got really cold after a while. So I had to move to my own apartment, which was tiny and not really enough space to move around. But I was happy and handsome. Um, I could work in my own pace, and this is actually footage from when I was trying to make a promotional video because I still hadn't sold a single hat, and I wanted to make sure I could show what I can do and how I actually make hats, etc. And this table was something very cheap, working table that I bought just to get started in my apartment. I think I spent like $25 on it. It held up to about the time when I started to move out from here, so it wasn't that long. And it wasn't until I made my actual promotional video that I got my first sale of a custom made hat, because I only made custom at the time. And I started a small shop on Etsy just to get free marketing and to have a store where people could use any type of payment which would make things convenient. But that period from May 2017 to about November same year was really stressful because I hadn't sold a single hat. I hadn't even gotten a single request or a question or any interest at all. My Instagram had actually had some great comments and people were getting impressed by what I was doing, but no sale. And that actually came at the end of November, where suddenly I just got 3 sales through Etsy of custom orders, and probably because the price point was very, very low. I think I put the price at around $150 for a custom made hat, and that was not even enough to well, basically I think it was a break-even point for the hats, and shipping was included just to get people to get into the door and start looking at my hats. And that feeling was just amazing because I knew finally I could get someone's actual feedback on my craft, and I could learn more from it. And since I had 3 sales in that week, that was really amazing. Um, Even December that year, people started to get notice my store, and since you had some statistics of sales through Etsy, people were actually there to buy hats from me. And I think also because of the price. So I wasn't making money, but I was actually getting money back for my investments. At least I could pay for my felts and I could actually purchase a little bit more. And in the following months of in 2018, I started to get more and more sales, and it was never enough to pay myself a salary. It Everything I made went back into the company, which at the time was a company. Actually, I had registered for the tax, and I had my very simple company established, and it was amazing. I was self-employed finally. But yeah, the money went back into invest in more felts, more equipment, and never to something personal really. But then again, hats are very personal. The craft is very personal because I have such a passion for it, and I just started to learn more and more, try to figure out how older hats were made, and um, it just took off really. And during this time, I was living on the salary that I've earned working abroad. And I only used that money to invest into hats. I never took any loan. And I probably started with about $5,000 for initial investment. And then I just reinvested my revenue, basically. And it's a really humble beginning. And it's kind of true that, big companies start everything in their parents' garage, and so did I. HUFVUD started in a garage in the forest and moved into the city, where it grew even further. And now I'm back into the forest again, well, countryside, um, and it's bigger than ever before. And anyone interested in learning how to make hats can make it into a business. It just takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, a bit of an investment because tools are not easy to come by, and you have to order most of it custom. And even nowadays, felts are difficult to come by. And I'm really grateful for where I am today, because if the 2017 version of Michael had not taken this leap of faith, then I wouldn't be sitting here today doing this. And that's pretty cool. And I'm living a dream. It's not a affluent dream. I don't have a huge salary from this, but it works. I can pay for my expenses, and I can do what I really love. And I love getting having the interaction with people all over the world, and I do make a difference to the world of hats. And keeping this craft alive is sort of my contribution to the world. If the world really wants the hats, they will continue to buy them, and if they don't want them, they will stop. If I can have an impact on someone's life by providing them with their dream hat, then that's rewarding enough for me. And it's the testament to what I have achieved since 2017. And this journey is just beginning. Now I finally have a large space to grow HUFVUD further and to bring more hats back to the world. And my hat will be the testament to that journey, and it will tell the story in the future. And I'm very grateful that you want to be part of this journey. If you're just watching, if you're buying a hat, I'm really, really grateful for everything that you're doing. Thank you so much. I hope you like this shorter video. Please help to like, share, subscribe. Send me some comments and send me some questions that you want to have answered perhaps, and I'm happy to help you. Thank you.